If you've seen part 1, you know how wonderful Cambodia was. In this video, we cover our Ho Chi Minh City and Hoi An experiences, both spellbinding in their own ways. Keep watching.
Ho Chi Minh City was a stark contrast to Siem Reap. The quietude was replaced by urban hustle-bustle that reminded us of Mumbai. Ho Chi Minh's roads are full of bikers, more than we've ever seen before. After checking into our hotel, we took a short stroll around and had our first pho and banh mi. First of many, I should add.
And with that, our third day came to an end. We started day 4 with traditional Vietnamese coffee. Then we drove all the way to Mekong Delta.
It was a 90-minute drive from our hotel, but our guide Mr. Khoa made it worthwhile. He narrated the entire history of Vietnam, why Ho Chi Minh was called Saigon, the American-Vietnamese War and everything. If only he'd been my school history teacher, I might have continued studying history.
We halted at this rest stop where we had fresh coconut water and another round of Vietnamese coffee. The gardens were so picturesque we could have spent hours there, but we still had a whole day ahead of us.
Once we reached our destination, we took a ferry to begin our excursion. Now, Mekong Delta has 4 islands: Dragon, Tortoise, Phoenix and Unicorn. We only visited 3, but even those had so much to offer. We started with this small honey farm where we had tea and yummy honey chips, all made with organic honey from the local bee farms.
Then we walked along the village roads until we reached this restaurant. Here we had locally grown fresh fruits and were an audience to live singers performing folk songs. After another short walk, we took a sampan, the best way to explore the Mekong River's intricate canals. At the end of this ride, we reached this little coconut factory. They use coconut for everything: candy, juice, toys, and even packaging. Then we took 2 more boats to reach our next stop, lunch. We knew it was supposed to be special, but we weren't expecting this level of indulgence.
The star of our seafood special lunch was this delicious fried elephant ear fish. The server even taught us how to make our own rolls, which we were happy to learn. This was undoubtedly the best meal experience we've had on this trip so far. Post lunch, we headed back across the river. Our last stop was the quiet and peaceful Vinh Trang Pagoda.
Spread across 2 hectares, this pagoda is a mix of Chinese, Vietnamese and Cambodian architectural styles. Upon entering, we saw these massive and majestic statues of the Buddha. We spent almost an hour or more in this tranquil place. Back to the main city, we took a stroll around the city center and did some street shopping. Finally, we headed to one of Ho Chi Minh City's most popular banh mi places, Banh Mi Huyen Hoa.
Seriously, this was the best banh mi I've ever tried in my life. I was so full I didn't even feel like eating dinner. Didn't skip the beer though.
Day 5. We were supposed to leave Ho Chi Minh City, but we couldn't do that without visiting 2 of its most prominent sites. Going through the Palace of Reunification, also known as the Independence Palace, gave us an intimate glimpse into Vietnam's political history and struggle for independence. Notice how the building is designed. It's supposed to resemble bamboos, the national plant of Vietnam.
All these chambers were sites to at least one historical event, including the fall of Saigon and the end of the American-Vietnamese War. The palace is still used by dignitaries for special diplomatic meetings, but for the most part, it has been converted into a museum featuring elements from Vietnam's recent past. The most interesting of all were these underground bunkers that you can visit.
Then we headed to the War Remnants Museum. This 4-story museum gives you a detailed look at the American-Vietnamese War from the perspective of Vietnam. Now, we've seen our share of Vietnam War movies, but they are almost always the American version. However, going through the War Remnants Museum and seeing Vietnam's side of things gave a whole new layer of meaning to the war.
We didn't shoot anything inside out of respect for the many deceased during the war. The entire experience was so gut-wrenching, but it is a must visit for anyone who would like to know about the war and human history.
We broke for lunch at Takashi Maya, one of Ho Chi Minh City's most popular malls, and headed to the airport. After a short flight to Da Nang, we were received by our guide Katie and drove for about an hour to reach our hotel in Hoi An. The view was quite beautiful, and of all the hotels that we've stayed in, this was the best in terms of room and view. Maybe that's what prompted me to take this video. It was quite late. so I went for a quick relaxing swim and then we had dinner and called it a night. We woke up to this beautiful view in the morning.
Breakfast done, we headed to Mison Sanctuary, a complex full of ancient temples dating as early as the 4th century CE. There was a slight drizzle, but that didn't stop us from exploring these ancient ruins. Another UNESCO World Heritage Site, Mison Sanctuary is full of ancient Shiva temples constructed by the Cham people. This site has multiple sections and is said to have constituted over 70 temples at one time. After this wonderful excursion, we got down at Quang Cao Lao Ballet, a quaint little restaurant that is a must visit for traditional Vietnamese food. We ate a mouth-watering meal of banh gio, traditional Cao Lao noodles and bong hong trang. And beer.
After lunch, we walked back to the hotel exploring the quaint and quiet streets of Hoi An. It was a hot afternoon, so we relaxed, freshened up, and around sunset we headed back to Ancient Town for a lazy stroll. Ancient Town was probably the most Insta-worthy location we visited in this trip.
It's definitely my favorite.
As the sun sets, this place comes alive with lights, lanterns, and a whole lot of street shops.
And a whole lot of people.
Coffee, food, beer, street shopping. There's something for everyone here.
We stopped for traditional coffee, had some snacks and beer at the riverfront, then walked over 2 to 3 kilometers just exploring every corner of Ancient Town. We did some street shopping and then sat down to enjoy some moments of tranquility. The last bit of this evening found us walking all the way to Banh Mi Phong, one of Hoi An's 2 famous banh mi places, and it was totally worth it.
Interesting quirk, the restaurant's tables have all these photos in them. Even we left our photos here among the many patrons from around the world who have relished this place's world famous banh mi. Day 7 was another transit only day. We drove back to Da Nang and took a flight to Hanoi, the last city of our trip. Hanoi felt very different from Ho Chi Minh City, where Ho Chi Minh City was hustling and bustling. Hanoi felt a tad bit more relaxed.
We spent the evening taking a stroll around the lake and had this famous egg coffee from Cafe Jiang. Seriously, this cafe invented this iconic dish and now everything in their menu has egg in it. We had 2 cups each and that wasn't nearly enough to fill our hearts. Then we headed to this place for Hanoi's famous pho and finally called it a night, eagerly waiting for the final stretch of our trip.